I've been married to Mark for almost a decade now. We met in college, a chance encounter at a friend's party that turned into something I never expected. He was funny, charming, and the kind of guy everyone wanted to date. But somehow, we became friends first. We'd stay up late talking about everything, from the most random topics to the things that kept us awake at night. It was easy with him, natural, effortless. It wasn't until after graduation that something changed. We became more than friends, and I can still remember the first time I realized I was in love with him. It felt like the simplest thing in the world, like I was just moving along with what was supposed to happen. So we got married. We bought a house, started a family, and for years, I thought we had it all. Mark was always there. He's a great dad to our two kids, and we've built a life together that people around us envy. From the outside, everything looks perfect. But lately I've started to feel a restlessness, something I can't shake. The house is the same, the conversations are the same. It's like we're on autopilot. I catch myself wondering if this is it. Is this all there is? The routine, the comfortable silence that used to be so comforting now, feels like a weight. It's not that I'm unhappy, at least not in the way I would describe it to anyone, but I can't ignore this emptiness that's starting to grow inside me, this feeling like I'm sleepwalking through a life that isn't fully mine. I'm just trying to figure out if there's more waiting for me out there, or if I've already missed my chance. Leah's arrival at the office was like a breath of fresh air. She was unlike anyone I'd ever met, free-spirited, confident, and effortlessly unapologetic. The way she carried herself made everyone take notice. She didn't try to fit in, she just was, and it was magnetic. I watched her, fascinated by the way she moved through the office, her laughter echoing as she joked with everyone, her style so different from the rest of us. At first, I told myself it was just admiration. She was so different from everyone I knew, and I appreciated her energy. But then, she started talking to me more, inviting me for coffee, chatting about everything from books to travel. And I found myself looking forward to those moments, the ones where she would make me laugh, or I'd catch her looking at me with that glint in her eye that made my heart skip. I tried to ignore the way my pulse quickened when she touched my arm, or the way my thoughts drifted to her long after the conversation had ended. It felt harmless, just a fleeting fascination, nothing more. I told myself I was just admiring her boldness, her confidence. After all, I wasn't attracted to women. That wasn't me. But the more time we spent together, the harder it was to convince myself. She'd smile, and I'd feel something stir inside me. Something new, something I didn't know how to define. I told myself it was nothing, just a phase, but it didn't go away. If anything, it only grew stronger, and I couldn't push it down anymore. She was different, and I was starting to realize that maybe I was starting to feel something for her that I wasn't prepared for. Leah and I started spending more time together. It was just coffee after work, nothing too out of the ordinary. But with each conversation, I could feel the connection growing. It wasn't just about the words we exchanged. It was the way she looked at me, the small touches that lingered a little too long, the way she'd brush her hand against mine when passing me the cup. I told myself it was nothing, just simple human connection, but my heart raced every time. I felt guilty, though. The guilt weighed on me. Mark was at home, completely unaware of the thoughts swirling in my mind. I didn't want to be here, caught between this pull toward Leah and the life I had with Mark. But the more I saw Leah, the more I couldn't shake it. The way she laughed, the way she made me feel alive, the way she made me feel seen in a way that Mark never did anymore. It wasn't cheating, right? She's a woman. It's not the same, I convinced myself. I'm still committed to Mark, I told myself, even if I couldn't deny the attraction to Leah. I didn't want to act on it. I told myself I could control it. We were just friends, right? This wasn't betrayal. I was just figuring something out about myself. It didn't mean anything, not really. But then the excuses started. I'd make up reasons to leave the house, work things, errands, just needing time to myself, and I'd meet Leah. Every time it felt like it was something more than friendship. The guilt would gnaw at me, but the desire was stronger. I couldn't stop thinking about her, about us. And no matter how much I tried to justify it, the lines between what I wanted and what I knew was right began to blur. I wasn't sure what I was doing anymore, only that it felt impossible to stop. The bar was dimly lit, the buzz of celebration in the air as we laughed, clinking glasses, and talked about the project we had just wrapped up. I could feel the excitement, the tension that had been building for weeks, finally easing. Leah sat next to me, her leg brushing mine under the table. For a moment, everything felt so easy, so simple. But then she leaned in closer, her eyes locking with mine, and I felt something shift inside me. Before I could process it, her lips were on mine. It wasn't a gentle kiss. It was electric, like the world had stopped and all that existed was that moment. My heart raced, my body froze, and yet I felt alive, like I'd been waiting for this without even knowing. Her hand grazed my cheek, pulling me deeper into the kiss, and I didn't pull away. For the first time in a long while, I didn't want to. When it ended, everything rushed back to me. The guilt, the reality, Mark, my husband. I pulled away, my breath shaky, my mind reeling. Leah looked at me, her eyes wide, as if she was just as shocked as I was. But the truth hung in the air, thick and undeniable. I drove home in a haze, my thoughts tangled. I lied to Mark, told him I had stayed late at work, the words slipping from my lips like they were nothing. He didn't suspect a thing, and I was grateful for that. But inside, I felt like I was suffocating. The kiss? Was it just a mistake? A moment of weakness? Or was it something more? I tried to convince myself it didn't mean anything, that it was just one kiss. After all, it was with a woman. It's not the same, right? I wasn't cheating. I was just exploring. This was my chance to figure out who I really was, without hurting Mark, without causing a scene. But deep down, I knew I was lying to myself. And the thrill of the kiss only made the guilt grow stronger. I started making excuses, work late, meetings, errands. Anything that would keep me away from home, away from Mark. The truth was, I was just craving more time with Leah. Every minute I spent with her felt like a moment I was truly alive. It wasn't that Mark was a bad husband. He was still the man I'd married, but something inside me had shifted, and I couldn't deny the pull I felt toward Leah. She made me feel things I hadn't felt in years, but with every lie I told, the weight grew heavier. I changed my phone password, deleted texts, and created stories that didn't add up. I found myself avoiding Mark more and more, too tired to talk or too distant to connect. I didn't want to hurt him, but I couldn't help it. Every time he asked about my day, I found myself brushing off his concerns with vague answers, all the while feeling this constant ache in my chest. He knew something was off, but I couldn't bring myself to be honest. I couldn't tell him what was happening because I wasn't even sure what it meant. Mark started noticing the distance between us. He'd give me these worried looks during dinner, the kind that made my stomach twist. "Are you okay?" he asked one night, his voice gentle, almost pleading. I could hear the concern in his voice, but I just nodded, offering a weak smile. "I'm fine, just a busy week." He didn't press further, but I knew it bothered him. And the truth was, it bothered me too, but I wasn't ready to face it. The lies piled up, each one making it harder to keep up the facade. I didn't want to hurt Mark, but I couldn't stop myself. I was living in two worlds, each one pulling me in different directions. And the guilt, the constant feeling of being on the edge of something breaking, was starting to suffocate me. I walked in, the house quieter than usual. Mark was sitting at the kitchen table, his phone in his hand, his face pale. I froze for a second, feeling a wave of dread wash over me. Something was wrong. "Sarah," Mark's voice cracked, and he looked up at me, his eyes filled with hurt and anger. "What's this?" He held up his phone, and my stomach dropped when I saw the screen. A series of text messages. Mine, between Leah and me. The truth was out, and it hit me like a punch to the gut. I opened my mouth to speak, but nothing came out. My heart raced, my hands trembling as I tried to come up with some explanation, some way to deny it. But there was nothing. The evidence was right there, in front of me. The lies, the secret meetings, the moments with Leah. Mark's voice broke the silence, raw and desperate. How long? His eyes were searching mine, trying to find any shred of honesty. How long have you been lying to me? I, I didn't mean for this to happen, I stammered, but I couldn't meet his gaze. I couldn't face what I had done. But you did it, didn't you? He slammed his hand down on the table, his anger bubbling to the surface. You're having an affair with her? With her? And you think this isn't cheating because it's a woman? The words hit me hard, but instead of apologizing, I felt this urge to explain, to justify my actions. It's different, Mark. You don't understand. It's about me figuring out who I am. About me, not about you or our marriage. I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought this would help me understand myself. He shook his head, eyes filled with disbelief. So you destroy everything we built, everything we've been through, to figure out who you are? What about us? What about the life we've shared? I couldn't answer. My mind was spinning, trying to make sense of everything, but all I could hear was his voice, filled with betrayal. And in that moment, I realized nothing I said could take this back. Mark sits across from me, the silence between us thick and suffocating. His eyes, once full of warmth when he looked at me, are now cold, distant. I can't bring myself to speak, not because I don't want to, but because I'm afraid of what's coming. The hurt in his eyes is like a slap every time I look at him, and I can feel the walls between us getting higher, impenetrable. I don't know who you are anymore, he says, his voice trembling with pain. His hands are gripping the edge of the table like he's trying to hold himself together. I don't know how to look at you without seeing what you've done. I want to reach out, to apologize, but the words don't come. I want to explain, to tell him it's not about him, it's about me trying to figure out who I really am. But even as I think it, I know it sounds hollow. How can I make him understand when I don't fully understand myself? I can't live like this, Sarah, Mark continues, his voice breaking. I've been trying to pretend that we could get through this, but every day I'm just waiting for the next lie to fall out of your mouth. I can't keep doing this. It's not just the affair, it's the lies, the secrecy, everything. I feel the weight of his words settle in my chest. He's right. I've betrayed him in more ways than I can count, and no amount of justification will change that. But the desire to keep seeing Leah, to explore this part of myself, is pulling me in a direction I can't fight. It feels like I'm suffocating every time I try to turn away from it. Mark wipes his face with his hands, taking a shaky breath. I think it's time we accept that it's over, he says, his voice quieter now, but firm. I can't stay in a marriage that's built on lies. I need space. I need a divorce. I want to protest, to say something to make it right, but I know I can't. The finality of his words hangs in the air, suffocating me. My heart aches for what I've lost, but part of me knows I can't go back. I sit alone in the quiet of our empty house, the weight of everything crashing down on me. The silence is deafening. I should feel some relief. After all, I made my choice, didn't I? But all I feel is the void left behind. I think about everything that led me here, the years spent pretending to be someone I wasn't, the constant pressure to fit into a life that wasn't truly mine. The guilt is suffocating, but so is the truth. I can't deny it anymore. Leah wasn't just a fleeting connection. What we shared wasn't just a phase, a mistake. It was real. I thought for so long that I was just confused, maybe even bisexual, but now I know. I've always known. I'm gay. I didn't just fall for Leah because she was a woman. I fell for her because I was finally being myself around her. She saw me for who I really am, and I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. I've spent so much time lying to myself, convincing myself that it was just a phase, or that I could still love Mark while exploring this other side of me. But I can't keep lying. I've been running from the truth, from the person I was meant to be, and in doing so, I destroyed everything. The damage is done, and now I'm left picking up the pieces of a life I thought I wanted, but never truly did. The realization feels like both a weight lifted and a heavy burden all at once. I've been so focused on discovering this part of myself that I didn't stop to think about the cost. Mark, the kids, everything I thought I had built. I can't undo that. I can't fix it. And yet, despite the pain I've caused, there's a part of me that feels free. I know now who I am, even if I'm not sure how to move forward from here. The kids don't understand. Caleb's been asking why I'm not home more, why I'm not there to tuck him in at night like I used to. Emma's been quiet, but I can see it in her eyes. She knows something's wrong. And Liam, he just keeps looking between Mark and me, like he's waiting for us to fix whatever's broken. But I don't know how to fix it. Mark has the kids more than I do now. He's the one who makes sure they have dinner, who listens to them talk about their day, who tucks them into bed. I'm the one who comes and goes, never really there. I tell myself I'm doing what I need to do, figuring out who I am. But every time I look at my children's faces, I feel the weight of everything I've lost. I can't pretend I don't see it, the sadness, the confusion in their eyes. I'm the one who's tearing us apart, and I don't know how to stop it. I can feel the distance between Mark and me growing. His disappointment is palpable, and I can't blame him for it. He's the one holding it all together now. He's the steady one, and I can't even be the mother I once was to our children. I chose this path, and now I'm watching everything slip away. There are moments when I wish I could go back. I wish I hadn't made the choices I did, that I hadn't hurt the people I love. But the truth is, I can't undo the damage. I can't go back to the life I had before, and I know that. I think about how things could have been different if I'd taken a different path. If I'd been honest with Mark from the beginning, if I'd been braver sooner. Maybe I could have figured all of this out without losing everything that mattered most to me. Not really, I'm just broken. I've started dating again, though it feels different now. I meet women, some through apps, some through mutual friends, but it's not the same. I can't help but compare every moment to what I've lost, to the life I once had. There's a part of me that's still broken, still aching for the family I ruined, but I'm learning. Slowly, I'm learning to accept myself, to embrace this new part of me that I've hidden for so long. But there's always a quiet ache in the background, a reminder of the choices I've made. I wish I could say I feel completely at peace with everything, that I've found joy in my new life. But the truth is, I still feel the weight of my actions. The path I've taken has cost me so much, and I can't pretend that I don't see it, that I don't feel it every day. Mark has moved on. He's found someone else, and I try not to feel resentful about it. I know it's what we both needed, but it stings when I see them together, when I watch how easily he's stepped into a life that I can't be part of anymore. My children, my heart aches for them the most. They've been through so much because of me. I hope one day they'll understand that this wasn't about them, that I didn't want to hurt them. But right now, I don't know if they'll ever truly forgive me. The hardest part is knowing that I can't undo the damage. I can't take back the lies, the hurt. I wish I could have been braver sooner, that I could have told Mark everything before it spiraled out of control, but the past is gone, and all I can do now is keep moving forward. I'm still figuring out who I am. Some days are better than others, and there's a peace that comes with living honestly, even if it comes with consequences. I hope one day my children will see that I made the choice to live my truth, no matter how much it cost me. But for now, all I can do is try to rebuild what I can, accept what I've lost, and keep learning to forgive myself.